Hey class, so today we'll be looking at parts of Revelation 17 and 18. We won't be doing the chapters in entirety, but we'll take little bits and pieces from each part of it. So the lesson title is going to be Beauty and the Beast. Alright, so in Revelation 17, we see the turmoil of the terrible bloodshed that has happened throughout the Great Tribulation. And in this chapter, who is the beast? Of course, the beast is the Antichrist, and who wreaks havoc on the planet. And the beauty is the church that's safely waiting in heaven because they were raptured before all of this has happened, and waiting for the moment when they'll return to the earth with the Lord to triumph over Satan. But on earth, things go from bad to worse. And in Revelation 17, 1 through 8, says, Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away with the Spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having the 7 heads and 10 horns. Remember, the 7 heads and 10 horns are the 10 nations, the confederacy of the world. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. But the angel said to me, Why did you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that you saw was, and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. Okay, so what is happening with all these verses? The Bible describes this vision as Mystery Babylon. All right, so as we noted earlier and throughout the study, the purpose of the book of Revelation is to conceal. The purpose of Revelation is not to conceal, but to reveal. The word revelation itself means unveiling. So God wants to unveil and make understandable to us the images that are in this book. So in this passage, Mystery Babylon is introduced, pictured as a prostitute dressed in red and riding on a beast, a scarlet harlot. Babylon is a picture of man's kingdoms on earth. In many ways, Babylon is what we might call a code word in the Bible, representing something more than its name. For instance, when we say Madison Avenue, we're not talking about a particular street in New York City. We're speaking more about advertising executives or publicity or promotion. Or when we use the word Hollywood, we're not necessarily talking about the city Hollywood. We're talking about that whole industry. Or the same when we say Wall Street, we're not actually referring to Wall Street in New York City. We're referring to the stock market. So it's the same with the term Babylon. It was once the name of a great city and nation on earth that became an empire. But in this context, it means something more than a name or a point on a map. So in the context of Revelation, Babylon refers to the worldwide political, economic, and religious kingdom of the Antichrist. So going back to the origins of Babylon, to understand Babylon, we need to go back to origins. And in ancient Babylon, ancient Babylon first appeared on the plains of Shinar in the book of Genesis. This is where the world's first dictator arose, Nimrod. He established the world's first religious center. Nimrod was described as a mighty hunter of men's souls in defiance of the Lord. This is after the flood, after Noah and his family came out of the ark to a world that had been washed clean of evil. God had specifically told mankind to spread out across the planet. Nimrod had other ideas. In defiance of God's clear direction, this dictator instructed people to build a mighty tower that became known as the Tower of Babel. In one sense, it was the forerunner of a modern-day skyscraper. The actual height of the tower, however, wasn't important as the objective, purpose, or the structure. The tower was built to look at the stars, to see one's destiny. In that sense, Babylon became ground zero for astrology and man-centered religion. All the religions of the world relate back to what happened at Babel. The Tower of Babel is a classic example of men trying to reach God rather than acknowledging that God has reached down to man. So the Lord told the people not to spread out. Instead, they pulled together and worshiped not God, but themselves. They wanted to be unified in a global community. And so going back to 17:3, we have a strange image of a scarlet harlot riding the beast. The color scarlet or red reminds us of the fiery red dragon mentioned in Revelation 13 as a picture of Satan himself. The devil, of course, is behind all this, including Antichrist and his false religious system. And so we speak frequently about the separation of church and state in America. This, however, is the complete opposite. It's the ultimate merging of church and state. People are given a choice. Either believe in this religion, follow the Antichrist, and accept his mark, or die. So verse 4 says that this scarlet harlot, Babylon, has in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Golden cup, of course, speaks of something that is expensive and valuable. The abominations speak of moral and spiritual filth. In other words, she is sipping on a luxurious, deadly cocktail. And so I remember this from a few years back. There was a cruise ship that was adrift off the coast of Mexico. Fire broke out in the engine room, and the ship lost all its power, went into darkness. There was no food. The toilets were overflowing. The hallways were full of poop and urine. So no one anticipated that a luxury boat would morph into a dung boat, in a way to put it. It was a nightmare of a voyage. So that's the picture of the tribulation period. What people don't understand is that it starts out so promising and hopeful. The world recovers from the shock of losing millions of people in the rapture. And here comes this vision of a new era of global peace and prosperity. A robust economy returns to the world, and people are making money hand over fist. There's a new religion that at long last everyone can agree on. Best of all, you have a clever, charismatic leader whom everyone seems to like and trust. But then this man of peace shows his true colors. After helping the Jews rebuild their temple, he erects an image of himself in the temple and commands people to worship, which is known as the abomination of desolation. And so that's where the luxury voyage takes a bad turn. It's just like the cruise ship floating dead off the water in Mexico. The religion of the Antichrist becomes an abomination that stinks to high heaven. It might be served up in a golden cup, but it smells like the brimstone of hell. So apparently at some point, there is a successful assassination attempt on the Antichrist, and somehow he survives it. Everyone thinks he is dead, but he comes back to life. we can assume that this is the devil's version of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Remember, the devil is a mimicker. He likes to mimic everything that Jesus and God have done. So he seemingly is wounded beyond recovery, and his fatal wound is healed, and everyone marvels at the miracle and follows the beast in awe and worship. We are told that the dragon, or Satan, gives the beast his power. People worship the beast and say, "Who is like the beast?" Full devil worship breaks out after this resurrection of the dead, or the Antichrist. So Babylon is not only a religious symbol or system, but it's also an economic entity in the last days. So Revelation 17 focuses on the religious aspects of Babylon, while Revelation 18 focuses on the city's political and economic characteristics. One thing is clear: Babylon is not only a mentality, it will also become a super city. And so, going to Revelation 18, 1 through 3, it says, "After these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every soul, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury." So Babylon the Great isn't so great at all. Bigger isn't always better. Notice that this super city, this mega religious and economic power, is the dwelling place of demons. This whole empire, as powerful as it has become, will come down quickly. Satan's ship is a sinking ship. In the long run, sin cannot win and faith cannot fail. If you become a lover of Babylon in any of its forms, you are following a lost cause. So as we read about the destruction of Babylon and how quickly it falls, it makes us wonder if it's been smashed by an asteroid or a nuclear weapon. And so this is in Revelation 18, 9 through 10. "The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxurious with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty cry, for in 1 hour your judgment has come." So they're standing at a distance for fear of her torment. So what could they be in fear of torment? Could that be radioactive fallout? No one knows, but one thing is for sure: at the appointed hour, Babylon and everything that's part of it will go down. At the time of God's choosing, God will say, "That's it," and the party is over. And so today was a real short lesson. It's just kind of hitting some of the highlights of Revelation 17 and 18. And next week, we will get started on the second coming of Jesus Christ. Thank you.